Hey everybody, it's Laurie Blomer. It's July 16th, 2023, and this is my weekly, what is typically a card pull for spiritual inspiration and spiritual reflection. Just something to focus on for the week, to give us something to help us on our spiritual path. Last week, I chose a card, or pulled a card from the Rethink card deck. It was not a tarot deck, it was not an oracle card deck, and really not designed necessarily for doing this type of work, but wonderful source of spiritual reflection and spiritual inspiration. Well, there are other tools that you can use, either for divination in the form of psychic work, but also, again, just for spiritual reflection, spiritual information, inspiration, and information. Yeah, that too. There are many different tools that have been used for, quote, divination or as, quote, oracles over the years. And one of the oldest forms is called bibliomancy. Bibliomancy is when we use a book for spiritual reflection and spiritual inspiration. And I mean reading the book, but we do a random pull. Instead of randomly pulling a card face down, we do use another technique for pulling information and inspiration from the book. Anyway, stay with me. This is going to get good. So you can use books for that. Bibliomancy. The book I'm using today was actually written by a friend of mine, an old high school friend, Carol Bolt. She wrote the Book of Answers, and she wrote several subsequent books to be used as oracles and as sources for inspiration. But they're all books of answers. And this one is called The Soul's Books of Answers. And I want to apologize for the fact that this poor thing looks a little bit beat up. It's well loved. Thank you, Carol. And also, unfortunately, we had a water pipe break in our ceiling of my office, which flooded down and hit my bookshelves. So unfortunately, this poor baby got hit by that as well. It was anointed or baptized, if you will, by water. So the fact that it looks a little rough is really more a function of the fact that I love it and I've used it a lot. This is as useful as any oracle card deck or as any tarot deck. So I'm going to show you how you can do bibliomancy. There's a tradition where you open it up, you close your eyes and sort of open and close the book 3 times, put your hand on the page, and whatever page you land on, look down at it, and the thing that you see right there is the message that you should receive from Spirit. I'm going to do the similar thing here. You can do it any number of ways. You don't have to do it 3 times. I'm going to do it similar to me shuffling a deck, okay? So here I go. And as I'm doing this motion here, I'm looking away because I really want it to be random. There are enough pages in this book, you can see it's not like I memorized every page. But my focus is that of spiritual reflection, spiritual information, inspiration and information, something that will help us this week, for me and for whoever's watching this video. So I'm just going to do it a few times so it feels right. And I'm really locked into the coordinates of my query, and that feels right to me. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and this is the page I've got. Ooh, I love this. It's a quote by Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, excuse me. I have reading glasses on, but they're not my most current ones. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and the phrase is, there's the name, fall out of thinking. Oh my gosh, I love that. What a great inspiration, fall out of thinking. All right, let's have some fun with that. What jumps out to me intuitively is how often my mind and my intuition do battle with one another, because my mind thinks it's a super smarty pants. It can figure everything out. Our intellect is really good at sizing up what's in front of us in a 5-sensory way, looking at past experience and then using that as a predictor for future experience. It's not particularly good at feeling its way into the future or seeing beyond those possibilities. So the idea of falling out of thinking, the idea of saying, I love the idea of just using the word fall. Like I'm just dropping it. I'm just dropping it right there. I'm not thinking my way out of thinking. That's not going to work. The other idea of falling out of thinking is get out of that habit of doing it. How many times has your intuition told you to do something? Your mind said, no, no, no. That's not what conventional wisdom would say. And that's also not how your experience has been. So even though it feels like a good idea, don't do it. So you don't do it, and then you regret it. Or conversely, something has seemed like a really bad idea on paper, but our intuition has said, go ahead and do it. And we didn't do it because we hesitated for that reason. And then, of course, think of all the times where your head has said, you really ought to be doing this, and your heart said, do this instead, yet did the other thing, and it turned out to play out in ways that you couldn't even anticipate it. letting our intuition rule the day. And you've often heard me, well, I know in the last reading, I think I might have mentioned that quote from Sonia Choquette, who said, intuition is best served on a foundation of good information. Use your mind, give it a job to do research, but really drop into your gut and say, yes, but even based on the research, what feels right for me? And go with that. So that's my inspiration for this week. I want to fall out of thinking. I can fall into this trap very easily, especially as a business person. I can go right into that mode of going into analysis. And I'm going to, with every critical thought that comes up, I'm going to take a moment, stop, fall out of thinking. And to me, here's another metaphor for let it fall into my body and say, all right, intuition, because our body is a wonderful oracle, a very portable one. We bring it with us wherever we go. How do you feel about that body? Does this idea feel heavy or does it feel light? Am I getting goosebumps of inspiration or am I getting a sick feeling in my stomach? What is it telling me about this situation that my mind may or may not be tuned into? So I'm going to fall out of thinking. So there's my inspiration. I encourage you to sit with this as well. As always, feel free to pull a card of your own or grab a book of your own and try the same technique. It is important when you're using bibliomancy to use a book that's going to be a source of information for you. Just like when you're reading cards, I like a well-rounded deck where your intuition has a lot to draw from. You might pull a book that is of great inspiration to you. It could be a religious or sacred text. It could be one of those chicken soup for your soul type books. It could be a self-help book. I wouldn't grab the phone book necessarily, but that's not to say that it wouldn't offer you support or information. I wouldn't grab a car repair book, but who knows? I think our intuition is clever enough to grab inspiration from whatever fodder we give it, but it's nice to work with a book that's designed for that. And again, this book is by Carol Bolt. It's one of a series of book of answers that she has. I really like this one because it speaks to souls, and she draws these wonderful quotes on each page. And she mentions who the author of the quote is, and she mentions what the quote itself is. So it's just a great source. So thank you, Carol, for this. I love you. And I hope you all have some fun with this week. Try bibliomancy. See what you think. We'd love to hear how it goes for you. LaurieBloomer.com. Email address is lauriebloomerpsychic@gmail.com. Hope you have an inspired week. Thank you for watching.